This was the last of my eggs, so I need to go and take out a second mortgage on my house so I can buy some more today. All right, guys, let's make some chicken salad. This is a whole big voiceover video because I have people that live here. So I'm just showing you the different seasonings that we're going to need. I foiled down a pan and I have 3 large chicken breasts. I have not trimmed them at all. Putting those down on the foil, and I'm going to season them with a little bit of garlic powder, probably a hefty amount of garlic powder. And then I am going to use some kosher salt. And sometimes I do drizzle these with olive oil first, but I was out of olive oil, so, it worked just fine without it. And the roasted garlic and herb seasoning from McCormick's, which doesn't have anything to sketch in there. And this really, for a savory chicken salad, it's like the best flavor. So I'm just making sure that the tops of the chicken breasts are very well coated. And I'm going to put them into a 375-degree oven for about 30 minutes. And once they're out, I put them in my food processor and chop them until about there. Now you can always also do this by hand. A little bit of celery salt, Duke's mayonnaise, don't come at me. Use whatever mayo you like. You can also use Greek yogurt here. And continue this in the food processor until it comes to the texture you want. I like mine really creamy, so I do tend to add a decent amount of mayonnaise to make it the consistency that I like. And there we go. I use this with cucumber slices, pork rinds, all kinds of stuff. Of course, the kids have it on bread, toast, that sort of thing. Today I also meal prepped some hard-boiled eggs. I do these in my Instant Pot, so the method that I do is typically the 5-5-5 method, which is pretty Googleable. It's something that you can find with no real issues. But Instant Pot hard-boiled eggs are literally the easiest. There's some sort of sorcery involved when it comes to getting these guys peeled. So basically they're on high pressure for 5 minutes. Then you let them rest under pressure for 5 minutes, and then you release the pressure and put them in an ice bath for 5 minutes. The only difference that I do is I do a 4-minute rest period, just because I found that keeps them from having the green ring around the yolk. But something about doing the Instant Pot method, the shell is so easy to peel. So basically here I'm just demonstrating how easy it is to peel these eggs from the Instant Pot. So once they've gone in the cooler or in the ice bath, I always hit the kind of fat end of the egg and start peeling from there. And it comes off so easily. Sometimes in one piece, sometimes I'll split it and the whole thing will just split into 2 and pop off. But I remember the times like plucking eggs, trying to get them peeled and fighting them, and the Instant Pot method, it just does not do that. So definitely worth looking into, because it is such an easy way to get foolproof eggs. Now the 5-5-5 method, or the 5-4-5 method in my case, is perfect for just perfect hard-boiled eggs. As you can see, the yolk is completely done. Nice and firm, but with no green ring around them. They look beautiful, but you can alter that and do a lower high pressure time in order to do like a medium boiled or soft boiled egg. This was my last 9 eggs that I had in the refrigerator, and I did these so that I could have a couple of them for snacks. But more than anything, I did these to make some egg salad. So that is what we're going to do next. And basically I take my Tupperware, it's an old school Tupperware bowl, and I'm going to take 5 of these and chop them. And basically I try to get them chopped fairly small by hand. This is how my mom always did it. Obviously if you have a chopper, it'll be easier, but I don't know, this is just my habit. It's the old school way with my old kind of crappy Walmart steak knife from probably 20 years ago. Gosh, I think I've had that knife for ages. But basically just try and get the whites cut pretty small as I go through to make my egg salad. And for me, egg salad is nothing crazy. My only ingredients are eggs, salt, pepper, and mayonnaise. I've made it in other ways. I have definitely made it with like whole fat Greek yogurt in the past, where I found that really the only difference is I had to add a little bit more salt. So that is an option if you want to avoid any kind of seed oils. Personally, I don't eat a lot of this stuff, so if I have a little bit of regular mayonnaise, I don't sweat it. But yeah, I've got a lot of black pepper or poison pepper. Someone told me the other day black pepper was going to kill me, so whatever. Black pepper, salt, and I mix all of that together and kind of try and use the fork to mash up any remaining large pieces of the egg whites and get that nice and well incorporated before I add the mayonnaise. I just feel like it's an extra step worth taking a minute or two to do. You can also always do this in a chopper, always do this in like a food processor if that works for you. For me, this is the bowl that I plan on storing this in. So kind of doing this and mixing it up a little bit in that bowl and pressing the larger pieces up against the side with a fork works fine. Duke's mayonnaise is king in this house. It is the only mayonnaise, but I do have some Greek yogurt. This is a great option too if you're trying to avoid mayonnaise, but you can use butter mayo or bacon grease mayo, or like Primal Kitchen mayo, whatever works. So I'm trying to measure out kind of tablespoons here. So I start with about 3 tablespoons and get this mixed up to see where we are as far as the texture and the creaminess. Mix it really, really well. This is why I use a separate spoon for the mayo and a fork to mix so that I can really work to incorporate this. And it still seems, a little crumbly to me, not quite as wet as I'd like. So I added another, probably about a half a tablespoon of mayonnaise. And that was just enough to bring it together to the creaminess that I like. And honestly, that my 14-year-old likes. This is her favorite snack. She likes to have it in like romaine boats. That's her favorite way to have egg salad. But yeah, cream cheese is also a great option to include in your egg salad as an option. So now this is a freestyle recipe, making a ground pork stir fry. I kind of decided, I didn't have the stuff to do like egg roll in a bowl like I normally would. So I just kind of brought some different things together. I got a few of these packs of Nyman Farms or Nyman Ranch ground pork, and I wasn't really sure what to do with it other than egg roll in a bowl. So I decided just with what I had in the fridge that this is what I would do with this. So surprisingly, this ground pork came out really lean. I didn't have to drain any fat from it after I cooked it down. But basically, I just started with the ground pork in my skillet and kind of broke it down and browned it. I definitely need one of those really cool spatulator things, but until then, I will deal with my regular spatula. But while my ground beef is browning, I'm kind of raiding my fridge on what I was going to use. So I decided to use this bag of sort of slightly wilting sweet peppers, like the snacking peppers. And I just sliced them. I ended up using, I think, 7 total of these little peppers. And I just cut them into little rings. And so while the ground pork was browning, I was cutting up these little peppers to get them prepped to add to the ground pork. But I mean, you can see in this, there's relatively no fat drippings coming from this pork. It was so super lean for ground pork. I was, honestly very, very surprised that I didn't have to drain anything off from it. But continued doing these little sweet peppers, which they're great because they have so much flavor, but no heat. So especially if you're in a household with kids, they're something great for like a pop of color and some fun flavor, but without any actual spice. I've used them a couple of times this past week. I got that bag marked down, so they're kind of a little softer, I think, than they normally would be, but cooking them down, I'm not worried about them being soft anyway. I also have one jalapeno, and I did cut the stem off and I seeded that because I don't want it spicy. I'm kind of a wimp when it comes to spice. Unless it's curry, I'm a wimp with spicy. So basically I seeded and de-ribbed the jalapeno, and then I'm just kind of cutting that up and adding it to the sweet peppers. And this was a pretty good size. I mean, I would consider that a large jalapeno as well. But now we have so much color that we get to add to the ground pork. And so this is kind of like a spicy Asian pork stir fry or something. I mean, I'm not really sure what exactly it is, but it came out so good. So I just added the peppers to the ground pork once it hit close to being done all the way through. And I added a small package of white button mushrooms, just the sliced mushrooms. This is the 8-ounce package. No, I don't wash them. I'm not worried about it. Kind of incorporated those in and stirred them in with the pork and the peppers. And it's just such a pretty, colorful, beautiful pan of food. There in the center, again, very little fat, but I added about a teaspoon of minced garlic and stirred that all in to get it all well incorporated as best I could. And at this point, this is on about medium high because I don't like fresh mushrooms. I like them cooked. So I'm adding my seasonings now: garlic powder, onion powder, black poison pepper. Black pepper is poison. It will kill you. All right. And some kosher salt. Getting this all mixed up. I keep also, you might see me pause occasionally because as I'm stirring, I guess I'm getting a little too aggressive. And so I'll like throw a piece of meat out or a mushroom out and I have to stop and add it back in. Constantly wiping down the counter. This is life. All right, so now I'm getting all of the liquids ready to add to the pan. Do about a teaspoon of each, probably. Lime juice, soy sauce, and sriracha. And then stir all this in. I did end up adding probably another teaspoon of soy sauce after this. Just because I felt like it needed a little bit more flavor, a little bit more like Asian flavor. So another teaspoon went in after this video. See, I keep throwing things, guys. But yes, it smelled so good. The lime juice kind of added this like very tropical, like islandy kind of feeling. I don't know. It smells so good. It smells like vacation. It doesn't make any sense, but it smells so good. It's got just the right amount of flavor from those peppers. It's colorful, lots of texture from the mushrooms. It came out so good. I'm excited to have that for the week. And this guy, chorizo, the Hatfield chorizo is my favorite to find because most chorizos do have soy protein added, where this one is just pork and a lot of seasonings. So nothing crazy or sketchy in those ingredients, like with a lot of the different chorizos. And I'm just using the same pan that I used for the Asian stir fry, just because I know that the chorizo is going to be a stronger flavor, so it's not going to really pick up any of those other flavors. In the meantime, I'm getting ready to make some egg cups. So I'm using 4 large eggs, and I'm adding these to a measuring cup just because with this having the spout makes it easier in the long run. So I'm going to end up making 6 egg cups, but with everything I'm using, 4 is enough to fill that. So I'm using some kosher salt, poison pepper, my usual suspects, my onion powder, garlic powder, and then I'm going to get this whisked up really, really well. Because basically what we're going to do is once this chorizo is done, we're going to use that to make those egg cups. we're probably only going to use about a third, maybe a half of the chorizo. So we'll have plenty left over for later in the week if we want to do like some chorizo and eggs or something like that. So as you can see, I'm kind of like continuing to monitor the chorizo. I'm also going to add a little bit of half and half here. And I measured on the side as I was adding it. It was about 2 tablespoons maybe, just to add a little bit of creaminess to the eggs. And I'm using a Ziploc bag and some room temperature butter, which is cold in my house. The butter's like really hard. This was a pain in the butt, honestly. But Ziploc bag, butter, greasing my muffin tin to get it to where nothing's gonna stick. The Ziploc bag is what I've used since I was literally a child, because the beautiful part about it is you can use this, get everything buttered, and then you turn it inside out and you throw it away. And then it's like, you're done. There's no cleanup, there's no cleaning a silicone brush or washing your hands or anything crazy. It's like, boom, it's done. It's perfect. Woohoo! So after I get my muffin tin greased, and at this point I do have the oven preheating to 350, I'm going to do probably about a tablespoon of the Mexican blend shredded cheese at the bottom of each one. I'm pretty good at eyeballing this, and I know it probably looks hefty, but it's basically just coating the bottom of each compartment of the muffin tin. And this is a standard muffin tin. It's just an only 6 count one, so it's very small, but they're standard sized muffins. Once I get the cheese in there, we're going to add the chorizo. And so I'm using a regular tablespoon to kind of scoop chorizo into each compartment as kind of like a heaping dinner spoon, tablespoon to pile the chorizo in there. And so it's just enough, again, to cover the cheese. But the compartments are still only, at this point, about a third full. All right. So once we get all of our chorizo in, I kind of press it a little bit. And as you see, I've got about a half a pound of it left over for chorizo and eggs another day. And then I'm going to take this egg mixture, again, whisk it really well. But this is where that pour spout comes in. It makes it so much easier. And I am just going to evenly distribute that between the 6 compartments. So see, had I done 6 eggs, anticipating 1 for each compartment, I would have overflowed. Now, next, I have another fresh jalapeno that I've got hanging out in my fridge and didn't have any particular task for it. Those of you that missed my Instagram stories, jalapenos are the #1 reason that carnivore was not for me, okay? If nothing else, for the rest of my life, I want to have jalapenos. So I'm just going to kind of thinly slice this fresh jalapeno. I am kind of plucking out the seeds just because I'm a baby. And I'm putting a couple of slices of fresh jalapeno on top of each of these little compartments on top of the eggs. And as I get further up the jalapeno and it gets really wide and massive, I'm just dropping it down to a couple of pieces. So I figured the chorizo and the jalapeno together would just be really, really good for a nice kind of kick first thing in the morning. That one little baby. Gotta add that little baby. All right. And then going to top these with an additional little sprinkle of the Mexican blend cheese. So Mexican blend, probably again another little bit more than a tablespoon maybe for each one. And they're all perfectly topped. I baked these at 350. It was about 18 minutes, but depending on the size of your muffins and your oven, anywhere from 15 to 18 minutes comes out absolutely perfect. They're nice and firm, but not like overdone and gummy. So they came out just beautifully. Last on the list is green beans. So I have 3 cans of green beans. 2 I have drained. 1 I still have the liquid. And these are the no salt added green beans, so they're kind of boring. I'm taking my big kind of stock pot. It's like a 3-quart stock pot. And I'm adding my bacon grease from my coffee tin because that's how I roll. And I'm doing a heaping spoon is probably about 2 tablespoons of bacon grease. And then once that gets nice and melted down, I'm going to add some minced garlic. Honestly, like this is how I start almost every vegetable that I cook or any soup or stock that I cook. It all starts with bacon grease and minced garlic. So bacon grease, minced garlic. It's just the way that I do things. I'm also running out of minced garlic, so I'm kind of down to the bottom of that jar. But about a tablespoon of minced garlic in there. Kind of incorporate that in with the bacon grease. And then I'm going to give that a second to start kind of not browning, but get a little bit cooked before I add the can of undrained green beans. So I do add that one first so that I've got that little bit of liquid in there. And then I incorporate the garlic mainly to get it off the bottom so it doesn't burn. And then I add the other 2 cans of drained green beans. And these I think were like 35 cents a can. They are store brand. They are not super special or crazy. Adding plenty of kosher salt since this was the no salt added. Poison pepper. Garlic powder. And basically you can have these at this point, but I like to put them on low, let them hang out until basically all the liquid evaporates and they soak up all of that flavor. Now that was my highest weight, guys, in this striped shirt. This was 219 pounds when we went to Puerto Rico in 2016 before I discovered a ketogenic diet. My head's cut off there, but you can still see it. I was miserable, absolutely miserable. And now, finally got my life back, reversed my type 2 diabetes, regained my health. I feel better than ever. I hope you guys get to do the same. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.